For as long as I can remember, game critics have wanted to pretend that December doesn't even exist. You see, they'll get to the end of November and then just immediately name their Game of the Year awards or publish another top 10 list. But I'm here to tell you that great games come out year-round, even in December. And just in time to prove that point comes Antonblast. Quite possibly the most 1995 video game that you're ever gonna play. With its extreme 32-bit graphics, zany cartoon sound effects, and a hero who is so in your face that he actually comes with his own scream button, this brand new side-scroller is one of the most chaotic and explosive platformers that you'll ever play. But is that a good thing? Find out now when I review Antonblast by Summitsphere. You know who sucks? Satan. Not only because he's vain and narcissistic, but also because he breaks into Dynamite Anton's place and steals his prized collection of spirits. What a jerk! Now it's up to Anton or his fussy co-worker Annie to use the mighty effing hammer to slam, smash, and utterly annihilate anything and everything in a series of extremely creative side-scrolling levels. Let me tell you, from the opening setup, you know that Antonblast is going to be a series of increasingly chaotic moments that are all woven together by one explosion after another. It's like Michael Bay made a Sega Saturn game with a character who's a mix of Wario, Bomberman, and Hammer and Harry. The pixel graphics all have sharp edges and weird proportions like a 90s show on the Cartoon Network. It even sounds like a 90s cartoon, both with the goofy sound effects and the insanely catchy rock soundtrack. Whether it's intentional or not, this is a game that took me right back to the dawn of the 32-bit era. Now, Antonblast is the kind of game where you're always in control of the character even though it doesn't always seem like it. A lot of the action revolves around the mighty hammer and the destruction that it causes. You can use the hammer in a lot of obvious ways, like smashing the enemies and plowing through crates and other obstacles. But you're also going to need to slam the mighty hammer on the ground to do a high jump, and whirl it around to get a little extra air in your leaps. And these are not just recommended moves that you're going to use to find hidden collectibles, because you'll quickly discover that the level designs are actually built around you perfecting Anton's various moves. Speaking of level designs, one of the things that really impressed me about Antonblast is that it's not a simple run from left to right affair. Although the levels do look simple at first, you're going to quickly discover that there's going to be a lot of exploration involved, and not just if you want to find the collectibles. The stages are long and winding and full of paths that may or may not lead to the prize. And even when you get there and retrieve that stolen spirit, you're still going to need to hightail it out of there, running all the way back through the entire level without dying before the timer runs out. The whole heist angle is actually really exciting. You know, in a lot of ways, the level designs in Antonblast remind me of Wario Land on the Virtual Boy. If you missed out on that mid-90s black and red classic, then the gimmick was that you could jump from the foreground to the background in order to avoid obstacles and find new paths to take. You'll do the same thing here, which means that you're constantly going to need to pay attention to the two different layers, because that dumpster in the background may actually be the ticket out of here. You'll also run into items and characters that transform our hero in some fun ways. In one section, you'll fly through the air with reckless abandon using a jetpack, while later on, you'll need to be killed by a certain type of enemy so that Anton's ghost can fly to even greater heights. This game is goofy and over the top in all the best ways. And just wait until you see the bosses. There's no traditional boss here, because every one of these over-the-top creatures brings a craziness that's all its own. Early on, there's a one-on-one fight with a wrestler that really sets the tone for the game. But really, that's just a taste of what you can expect. One of my favorites is a cigar-smoking big band singer and his Zoot Suit army, who will use card tricks to try to gain the upper hand. Speaking of entertainers, you're also going to have to dodge curse words that are hurled at you by an opera singer. Oh, and did I mention that you're also going to have to go head-to-head with a demonic bell? It's not just that these battles are deliciously random, but they're also intense and require the player to pay attention and use all of Anton's moves to come out on top. Now, for as much as I love the gameplay in all these boss fights, there are a couple of things that hold Antonblast back. One of them is the way the levels are separated into small chunks. This reminds me of those mid-90s handheld games where each of the sections of the levels had to be short due to the technical limitations. You'll spend a few seconds in one part of the level only to then exit to another small part of the level. This is always separated by a cut to black, which I found blunted some of the momentum. Look, it's a minor complaint, I will admit that, but I wish that each section of the level was longer and not cut up as much. Constantly changing areas messes with the flow a little bit. There are other small nitpicks, like how some of the levels might go on a bit too long, or how some of the gameplay could have been tightened up some. That said, the game is usually pretty good about introducing new elements, even late in each stage. Plus, the stages themselves are all incredibly memorable, with each bursting with character. Even when you think that you've seen the theme done in other platformers, such as a pinball stage, Summitsphere has found a way to make it stand out and fit into the unique world of Antonblast. So much of what makes this game work is how it looks and how it sounds. This is the kind of throwback game that not only feels authentic, but actually gave me real nostalgia for the mid-90s. The pixel graphics are chaotic and manic and outrageous and, most importantly, stunning. Every stage and boss fight is a real delight, and I couldn't wait to see what came next. Of course, it also helps that the soundtrack rocks harder than just about any other game released this year. Every single song in this game is a catchy earworm that you're going to be humming throughout the rest of the day. It perfectly matches the extreme energy that we get from the visuals and stage designs. Look, if there's one good thing that I can say about 2024, it's that it's been a great year for indie games mimicking AAA platformers. From Akimbot replicating the Ratchet & Clank series, to Nico Dorico taking on Crash Bandicoot, and now Antonblast taking a page from Wario Land, the last 12 months have been full of mascot characters going on great platforming adventures. Antonblast is my favorite of the bunch thanks to its chaotic style, explosive action, and memorable boss fights. It's the perfect way to close out the year with a bang. A love letter to Wario, Antonblast is the most mid-90s game that you're gonna play this year. Between the chaotic art style and inventive level designs that have you jumping in and out of the foreground, the side-scrolling platformer is full of surprises. Let me tell you, you're gonna look forward to every new boss battle, with each bigger and crazier than the last. Sure, some of the levels do drag on a little bit too long, and the way the stages are chopped up is a little annoying, but you're gonna be having way too much fun to even notice those minor issues. Let me tell you, in a year filled with great platformers, Antonblast is one of the best. Hey, thanks for watching my review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. Now, here's the question I have for you. What 1990s platformer needs to make a comeback? Obviously, there are a few that have never gone away, like the Marios and the Sonics, as well as a few that got reboots over the last decade or two, like Bubsy and Sparkster. But what long-dead franchise needs a new installment? Let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, we're going to be back tomorrow with a brand new Review Crew episode. We'll also be back next week with a bunch of fun holiday features. While you wait for that, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.